It recognizes our belief in God, our country, not just individuals, our country, our founding fathers codified this in the documents that founded this country. Our reliance, our belief in God, and our reliance upon God. Of that, there's just no debate on that. You may like it, may not like it. Declaration of Independence, we find these truths to be self-evident, that we are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, of which are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. It goes on in the Constitution to say we are putting together this Constitution in a preamble to secure the blessings, not only for ourselves, for posterity. And that Constitution followed with a Bill of Rights that enumerated those godly rights given to man, including the very first one, which was the right to believe in God and to express that belief anytime, anywhere, including the public square.
33 million. It's proven to the money investors that people want something to feed their souls, not just their worst desires.
Absolutely.
And
yes, indeed.
This kind of sums up my entire dialogue career on the heat of the night. You ready for this? Okay, this is it. My 7 years on the heat of the night. My dialogue all summarized into this. Get right on it, Chief.
Skinner, but Bubba's my name. I like my iced tea sweet and my women the same. I'm your brown-haired badge here in little old Sparta, but nobody's bigger or tougher or smarter. If you're looking to fight, best not be with me. Gonna be held tight, well now we'll just see. You never know in the heat of the night on TNT. Heat of the night on TNT. Now I don't put on any airs, but then I ain't no slob. Just a redneck boy with a blue-collar job. The ladies I date, they gonna have 'em some fun, 'cause I'm a big hunk of crime fighting son of a gun. So if you're looking to fight, come on up in the ring. You wanna be held tight, just about anything can happen in the heat of the night on TNT. Hubba, 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 heat of the night on TNT. Yeah.
So 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
And welcome to Alan Autry No Retreat. Big Wednesday here in Fresno, California. 108 degrees. Bring it on. Bring on that 115. I won't even take my coat off until it's 112. Yeah, right. Boy, Larry, I haven't heard that intro in a while. Been off a few days in OKC. Missed all y'all. Have I told you lately that I love you? Have I told you lately that I care? Stop me, Larry, before I continue to embarrass myself. I tell you, I missed the show. I miss your smiling face over there.
Well, so nice to be back, Alan.
Man, I wasn't here. You know, it's hot in OKC.
Yes.
But not like here.
No.
He said, well, it's dry heat. Yeah, dry heat.
Dries you up.
108's 108.
108, yeah.
You know, there's no sugarcoating that, man.
No.
When you can fry an egg on the sidewalk.
So many families that can't afford air conditioning at the levels that they need. So the good news is we have cooling centers. So places that folks can go, and more people shop indoors on 108 degrees than they do at,
I wonder why.
90 degrees. So.
I wonder why. Man, did you ever have a swamp cooler in your house?
Oh, absolutely.
Some of you folks out there don't
I can
know.
still smell it just talking about it.
Yeah, but I kind of miss that
Straw, baby.
but after 100 degrees, it didn't work.
No, not after 95.
For all you youngins out there, listen, we do have a few youngins that listen to the show. They don't even know what a swamp cooler is. Jeremy, you know what a swamp cooler? Jeremy says, you what? You have one? Now? You have one. You have one now. Well, man, we got to get a collection plate for Jeremy. Get him some central air conditioning. I'm going to stay up all night thinking about you, worried about you, son. No, we got to get you some air conditioning. You got? Is it just you in there? Or yeah? Okay. All right, we won't go there. All right. No, I'm just kidding. He's no, the swamp coolers. Before we get, we got a lot to get to, but hey, we're an informational show as well.
Absolutely,
especially about educating younger people about the bygone era.
It's called pre-AC.
Yes, and I have no judgment on the the present generation, these spoiled millennials, Generation Zs.
No judgment.
No judgment there. No, they're great. There's some great generations. We all had our issues, right?
Yes, we did.
The boomers didn't, right? We didn't have our issues.
We had so many.
But a swamp cooler was this big old box thing. It was on top of your house or on the side of the window, but mostly were on top of the house. And how they cooled it was they had cooler pads. And you put those cooler pads on each side, and they were like straw.
Straw wrapped.
They're straw wrapped.
And soaked in water.
And soaked in, when you put the garden hose up there and hook it up in there and turn on the hose down, they would go up and get all that straw substance wet, and then somehow it just sucked the air in through that.
Put a fan on.
Right
through that wet.
And then it came in, and I tell you, on a hot day, again, over 100, forget about it. It was just like hot air.
Yeah.
But under that, it wasn't bad.
No, not at all.
Not
at all.
Yeah, you'd come in there and that little thing was going, but that's how, I can remember seeing the first air conditioner on a car.
Oh, boy.
Remember it was in the window?
Yes.
Up there in the window there, that big old thing there. Okay, all this important information to increase your quality of life.
Coolers.
You find it on Alan Autry, No Retreat. All right, let's get to it. Well, Liz got her Cheney yanked last night, didn't she?
Amazing.
In Wyoming?
Yeah.
Wow. That was
under 30% of the vote. Alan, you and I both know this. People understand loyalty, and it doesn't matter what party. And when you have a choice of no vote or a vote against someone in your party, you run all kinds of risks. I would much rather, in most cases, be on the side of not voting or taking an abstention than voting against when the information is not as substantial or, as likely as it might be. When it's not clear cut and you know that the partisanship plays a role in both. And I was looking up Clinton's, impeachment time back in 98, and some Democrats crossed over. Did not have. Yes, that's right.
Depends on what is.
Yeah.
Let me call Newt. Hey, Newt, what is?
Well, Newt could tell you.
Newt could tell you. He'd spend 20 minutes telling you what is. But go ahead, Larry.
So it's interesting. You have crossovers in each party, and most of the time they hide behind, I'm doing it for the country. And I often don't believe that because I don't think there was enough evidence with Trump to go to the level of impeachment, to begin with, whether you like him or don't like him. You have to consider all kinds of things, including the good of the country. And I just think those things are so partisan that it's real tough to impeach someone. And Nixon did the best job in the world of trying to get impeached. Eventually did,
Well, let me ask you this, though. Do you think, this January 6th debacle thing, this so-called committee to find the truth?
Yeah.
No, they knew exactly what they were going for her and Adam Schiff and the whole group in there, Kissinger, the whole bunch.
Yep.
They don't let Jim Jordan on there. They don't let anybody that's going to actually be a voice that's going to, cross-examine witnesses and that sort of, or testimony and that sort of thing. It was obvious to the layman, anybody who doesn't even follow this
that's right.
very closely, that it was about one thing, and that was damaging this former president to where he could never run again. He would be such damaged goods.
That was the goal.
And let me ask you, do you think, because you can get into office and you step out of the real world, I don't care, and you're into kind of fantasy land
You both,
for a while,
both
in the
you
bubble.
and I have been there.
Yeah. Do you think she had any inkling that it was going to be this bad of a massacre as happened last night? I mean, you're talking about a 30-something point in Cheney land.
Yes.
Cheney name in Wyoming.
Yeah, big.
It's
big,
Larry,
big,
I'm
big.
telling you, it is and has
Well,
been.
it's Kennedy in Massachusetts,
Exactly.
It's Bush in Texas.
It is exactly right and has been that for decades.
Yep.
You have to really work pretty hard to tarnish that name to the point where that you would even lose.
Yes.
But to lose this big, do you think she...
I don't think she had a clue it would be like, I know she knew that it would be a difficult time, but I don't think she even thought she would lose, until the polls all started showing. But I'm telling you, that loyalty thing is something that exists in every party.
No, but don't you think, too, there was an aspect of, in that race with her in the January 6th, just watching her, the venom and hatred for this man.
Yep.
And on the show, I've told you where I feel that comes from, and I stand by it.
Yeah.
Trump was merciless on Bush and Cheney.
Yep.
In his criticism, called Bush the worst president ever, accused them of basic war crimes, being involved making money on defense contracts, which they did.
Cheney, yeah.
I mean, probably billions of dollars, not just hundreds of millions that he made for themselves and other people.
Yeah.
And he called it out. And that family is such, you don't go against the family.
You never
If you go
against the family,
you're going to pay a price, Larry.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how long we're going to get you.
Yep.
I mean, there is, and now I'm not calling the Cheney's family a mafia. I'm just being silly to kind of prove a point, hopefully. That family is a different breed.
Yep.
And we've all known families like that. You hit them upside, you slap them, they're going to come back with a Louisville Slugger upside your head.
Yep.
You scratch them,
and
they're going to put a
Cheney
fist in
when he
your-
was vice president.
Yeah.
Somebody criticized him. He came back hard.
He get 10 times as hard.
Yeah.
And you're looking at a daughter that loves her daddy.
Yep.
And you got to admire that.
Yep.
But I'm with you. I think people out there, the general public, including people in Wyoming who probably had voted for Cheney their whole lives,
Yeah.
like Liz Cheney said, there's something not quite right with her right now. She's not putting the country and the state of Wyoming over her own hate.
Right.
And because there has to be I think people expect in politics to be a limit to your hate.
Correct.
I didn't agree with all the Clinton stuff, at all. But I saw people go beyond where they should have in their hate for Clinton, Hillary Clinton, and it becomes a sickness, an obsession. And you're looking at that person going, how could that person so hate-filled even find time to do the business of the people on other subjects?
Right.
Like the inflation, the border, everything going on in the Ukraine war.
There's so many other important issues.
Yeah, don't you think people said she's kind of lost it?
Yeah.
She is, and she became a bully.
You know where her fate was sealed? When she became vice chair of the January 6th committee. she should never have accepted that position, from Pelosi. Vice chair of that investigation, quote unquote.
So didn't right off the bat, though, that right there smacked of a stacked deck.
Oh, absolutely.
This January 6th committee, what was its purpose? There was no pursuit of the truth.
No, not at all. Not at all.
If that was
you've got to have people on both sides of that issue. When you have somebody, when the committee's made up of people who voted for the thing you're investigating, calling it, a crime.
I think I'd like your thoughts on this. So you have these actions, this hate-driven agenda to wipe a political figure that happens to be a former president, who probably will be, the nominee if he decides to run, off the face of the political earth.
Yeah.
So you have that going on, but then you see these terrible abuses of power, the weaponization of the Department of Justice and the FBI. Arresting people, putting them in shackles because they don't respond promptly because they have a lawyer negotiating.
Right.
They didn't do that to Hillary Clinton. They didn't do that to Eric Holder.
None of them.
Eric Holder was in contempt of Congress.
Yeah.
But they didn't send the DOJ and the FBI to shackle Eric Holder.
Right.
And they see these visuals and they're thinking in their twisted mind, Liz is going, yeah, the public's seeing this and they're going to see them for the criminals they are, when they're saying, maybe they are criminal, but you go in 20 armed agents at Roger Stone's, that was a different situation, but with Navarro and these guys, you go early in the morning and you shackle them up. Do you think that played into this big, enormous loss?
Oh, absolutely. Americans have a sense of fair play even when they dislike the other party. So from my perspective, I just think if you overplay a hand and it becomes so grandiose the way you're playing it, you actually are going to drive people that like you the other way. And I think that's a little what happened. Those folks who live in the middle, and I've said this every time I get on your show, Americans like the middle. They love the middle and a little bit to the right and a little bit to the left. As soon as you start pushing, they go further the other way.
Larry, I'd like you to expound on that a little bit more, because I think a lot of people, when they hear you say that and hear me say that and other people say that, they think you mean compromising your principles, your core basic principles, when it doesn't mean that at all. It means, so can we find some compromise? The old Reagan doctrine is, if we can't get 100% agreement, which in politics you seldom if ever do,
right?
If I can get 60% of what I want, we're better off in moving the agenda forward.
Yeah.
Are we 60% friends and 40% enemies? But that's the middle,
right?
Correct. You're talking about because a lot of people think, well, oh, you mean you meet in the middle? So suddenly Larry, who's pro-life, is going to be pro-choice?
Yeah, not at all. You never give up on your principles, but you certainly give up on the way that you push for your principles. For example, if I dislike something in a position you take, I'm going to allow you to expand on that position, and we're going to have an articulation back and forth and a discussion to see where you're coming from. Maybe you'll listen to me as well, where I'm coming from. But when we shut off all discussion, then you're moving to the edges. Yep. And Americans don't like the edges.
And it goes all the way back, this line of thinking that you're talking about, the so-called middle, which is actually compromise. This country would have never come into existence without it, because you really only had one powerful state. And you got to understand, folks, back in that day, it was 13 separate nations.
Mm-hmm.
They were not states. We didn't have a constitution.
The United States was not around.
It was not around. They were basically little nations, and there was a ideology that wanted to keep it that way.
Yep.
And Thomas Sowell talks about that, and he says the founding fathers that pushed for coming together and forming unification, a United States of America. The Rask goes, well, why do it was out of fear that they were going to fight each other eventually. And he goes, right. What makes you think that these nations are going to fight one another? And the answer was, I think George Washington says, because they always have.
Yeah. You got to remember the term nation state.
Right.
So while we were states, the nations in Europe were all nation states.
Right.
So,
Exactly. And the concept of the United States of having a set of principles that binds you with some power that supersedes each of his made sense. But there was a holdout, and that holdout was Virginia, because at that time Virginia was the only real prosperous state. They had it all. They had the economic resources. Remember, they were standalone.
Yep.
So they're thinking, now wait a minute. Why do you want
to do this?
You want me to come in there and hook my wagon up with South Carolina or whatever they're struggling down there? And the idea of a central, government bank and all that's what the Hamilton-Jefferson thing was all about.
Right.
But they got together, and Virginia met in the middle and compromised.
Yeah. And this wasn't an overnight deal. This was a long period of discussion back and forth where each side got to talk about the issues. And as they talked, they came to a compromised position. It doesn't mean Virginia liked it, but they saw the value of it.
Right.
So.
Right. And, they didn't. So I think it's just from the beginning, this so-called meeting in the middle, again, take away the basic principles, because the founding fathers, when they met in the middle, nobody was saying, well, let's get together and reduce the right of free speech, the right to bear arms, the right against unlawful search and seizure, religion.
Yeah.
Those weren't on the table for compromise. No. And that's the same thing today. Those aren't on the table when you get together.
No.
My goodness, it's coming in. How can we get a control of inflation?
Yes.
How can
Borders, all that.
How can we get the peace table just erected over there in the Ukraine to get the Russia and Ukraine to table, so you can talk? Those are the things we're talking about, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Secure the border so you don't have constant people raped and murdered and everything coming across the border.
There's another really interesting point with the Cheney deal. There were 10 Republicans that voted for impeachment. And when you take a look at that, only 2 of them are up for re-election and made it to the ballot
here,
in November.
Valadeo?
Yeah, Valadeo. So you've only got 2 that made it. 8 of them either quit or got beat in the primaries. So I think Americans have a sense of fair play that is just inbred in them, and they recognize when fair play is not in action.
I do too. I think they recognize when it's a bridge too far, and it's just like, come on, that's too far. That's out of line. You shouldn't.
Well, that's why they didn't vote to impeach Clinton. And they didn't vote to impeach Trump.
Yeah.
The country comes before the individuals.
Well, it should.
Yeah.
And guess who's saying we need to bring down the temperature of the political strife in this country? Did you hear that? Yeah. When Donald Trump says we need to bring the temperature down, it's pretty hot.
He's got his Teflon suit on.
It's pretty hot when he's saying, hey, we got to watch our tongue a little bit. Watch what we say.
You've seen
Start
those
getting along
silver blankets
anymore.
When you're in a forest fire?
Yeah.
You get under the silver blanket.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we want to play one last thing on this Cheney thing. I want you to hear the ad that her dad cut, which I think sealed the deal. I don't think she was never going to win. But I do think this ad probably added at least 5-6 points more to her demise. And we'll play it when we get back. Man, I missed y'all. I want you to try to get that TuneIn app if you can, because we're going to be playing more music, because music communicates.
Yep.
Sometimes you can communicate through a song what you can't say, especially in my case, when you ain't that articulate, and you can play a little song that kind of gets your message across.
Alan, it's been fun just looking at comments from Facebook fans and folks. Really do appreciate you and what you have to say. You got some smart people out there that are listening regularly and intent on making sure they get their viewpoints across, and they're pretty sharp.
It still befuddles me. If they were that smart, why would they tune into me? I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
We're all in this together. I love y'all when you tune in.
Alan's one of my favorite people.
What was it Groucho Marx said? I never be part of a club and to have me as a member.
Yeah.
I'm just
What's
kidding.
The word? What's the word for the day?
I'm so honored to have y'all with tune in. God, I missed you. Missed being behind you.
Yeah, I know you've been in the mid part of the country recently.
Oklahoma City.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Sooner born, sooner bred. When I die, I'll be sooner dead. Not really. I'm from Louisiana.
Yeah.
But it's a pretty snappy little thing, they say.
It is a snappy little thing, yes.
We have nothing in California.
What do you think
California born, California bred, California raise the taxes, and soon we'll be
dead.
Soon be dead. We got to come, huh?
What do you think about Oklahoma joining the SEC?
I hate everything that's going on in college football right now.
Absolutely.
They're just going to turn it into a low-level pro league.
Level. Yeah, it's a
low-level minor league pro team. And who wants that?
Feeder teams for the pros.
Feeder teams for the that.
Yeah.
You know, and
you
it's
lose
all
that spark that I love about college football,
gosh.
you know, and rivalries. Bedlam. What's happened now to Oklahoma and Oklahoma State? They may not play another game against each other.
Yes.
That's sad.
And you could have USC or UCLA playing for the Big Ten in the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
Of course, they probably canceled because of COVID, the variant, the 985th variant out there.
Yep. Well,
remember I told you everybody's going to get this?
Yep.
Jill Biden, 2 vaccines, 2 boosters,
yep,
gets the Rona.
Yep.
And if you would have said, we said it on the show, look, and oh man, it went ballistic locally.
Yeah.
1 minute?
Mad at me because I said, listen, it's a coronavirus. Everybody's going to get it. This shot is not going to keep you from getting it.
Reduces the impact of it against you.
I will buy that.
Yep.
It, you know, because there seems to be some data to back that up.
You got antibodies that are developed that help.
But there was never data that said a cloth mask was going to stop that, Larry.
Not stop it. No.
And the 6-foot rule, who came up with that? Let's just pull that out of an orifice. Well, you should keep. Why not 4 feet? Why not 8 feet?
Well,
30 seconds?
Because 30 feet wouldn't work.
But you ever think?
Yeah, I know.
How about that? Wear a cloth mask and keep 6 feet apart, and you're going to be fine. I remember back there when I was working out at the gym, I'd fake a sneeze. If I wanted a gym, I'd get over by a station that was people were on. I wanted that station. I'd just do a fake little sneeze. Boy, they were out of there like scalded dogs, man. All righty.
You're listening to the Alan Autry Show on the best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX. Call Alan now, 559-899-1550.
Yeah!
Now that's Central California music right
yes,
there.
that'll get your fire burning, your woods wet. Richie Valens, boy, there's a life cut short, way short. What a talented young man.
Yep.
La Bamba, 1958, I think that was. I was 6 years old. Just a little toddler. Walking around, I'm still in my diapers changed.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to this. We're going to play Dick Cheney's commercial here. I want you to, and I swear.
You have to see it through the eyes of a father.
Yes, the eyes of the father. And those just listening on radio, I promise you it's not Darth Vader. It sounds like Darth Vader. It's not Darth Vader. It's Dick Cheney. And here's 2 weeks, I think it was about 2 weeks before the election. He, Daddy cuts a little spot for his little darling, and he thinks this is going to pull out the victory. Let's play.
In our nation's 246-year history, there has never been an individual greater threat to our republic than Donald Trump. He tried to steal the last election, using lies and violence to keep himself in power after the voters had rejected him. He is a coward. A real man wouldn't lie to his supporters. He lost his election, and he lost big. I know it, he knows it, and deep down, I think most Republicans know it.
Wow.
Well, you can hear people saying,
The only thing missing,
lying about the election is better than lying about a worthless war because you got thousands of young people killed in Cheney.
Yeah.
Well, that's what was.
Well, the only thing missing in that commercial was, Liz, was that good enough?
Yeah. I don't think he needed the property.
Oh, man.
I tell you, I got to meet Cheney. He came out here when I was mayor.
Yeah.
And I'm not taking pot shots. It just is what it is. This guy is, when you talk about charisma,
stiff. Well,
it's one thing if you don't have charisma, but just don't be rude on top of your lack of charisma. I mean, I've never been around a saltier dog.
Yeah.
He was out there at the airport. He did not want to be in Fresno. He had dignitaries there, and just like they weren't even there. I get this plane here. Y'all are going to try. We don't expect no grant money here. We don't believe in that grant money. Yeah, you guys keep throwing those food, keep throwing the food there. Yes. And he just, people would try to interact with him.
Yeah.
And he was just rude. Now, okay, I don't talk like that very often, but it is what it is. When you come on and you make an ad like that and you call a person a coward, former president a coward, this all personal stuff, nothing to do with policy.
No. Or decision making you're going to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And not to mention you had the lowest unemployment African Americans in history, lowest unemployment for Hispanics in history.
Highest college support for African American colleges.
In history. You had criminal justice reform for the first time in like 20 years.
Yep.
And the list goes on and on and on. So you said, oh, you're a Trump. Please. Folks, can we please let this guy go away? I know he keeps knocking on the door and say, look at me, look at me. It's about policy. When we say during those times that policy was good. If I'm starving to death and somebody says, okay, I really feel for you down there, you're starving to death, and it's maybe it's a deacon at the local church. Well, that's nice, thank you. But you could have the meanest drunk in town hand me a sandwich. Guess who I'm going to think more of?
I know. That drunk's my buddy.
Well, that's what I mean. His policy was how it affects the people. You're starving.
Yep.
Sandwiches down there. I mean, come on. When are they going to stop equating Trump with basic conservative principles that have served this country well through its entire existence?
Mm-hmm.
You know, he didn't come up with non-burdensome taxation for individuals, families, and businesses. You know, he didn't come up with a fair shake for everybody to have a chance in the workforce.
Right.
He didn't come up with secure borders. He didn't come up with the idea of not getting into worthless, endless wars and sending our national treasure, our young people, to die there. He didn't come up with that.
Mm-hmm.
Those are basic. George Washington said, be wary of being in a foreign war. Watch out. These things have been around that he embraced. My gosh, Larry, he didn't invent them. So quit calling them Trumpsters or Trumpisms when you're talking about conservative values. This guy down in Florida, you know, DeSantis, pretty much a lot of the same principles down the line. He communicates better. He can bring people together. He speaks his mind. Yet he's got, what do you think about that? I wouldn't plan on going there, but I've said flat out, I don't think Trump should run. I think he's too divisive. He's had his day. Be over there and be kingmaker. Do your thing. You've had your run. You had policies that move this country forward. You have an attack on those principles now that we're trying to beat back. But you got DeSantis. You got Youngkin down in Virginia. What's your thoughts on that?
I really think that it is time to move on. You can't continue a divisive program for a long period of time. Divisiveness works in the short run, but it doesn't work in the long run. And so somehow you've got to get people in there who have common values, conservative principles, but understand that you can still communicate with everybody else. You can still get along. You simply choose to go in a different direction. And I think the American people are longing for that. You're going to see it. And I think Trump voters are going to support a DeSantis if he's in the race.
And I think DeSantis will get a lot of crossover. I think he's got Reagan-type appeal.
The snowbirds from New York.
Yeah, when you get Bill Maher saying, you know, he's making some sense. You get Joe Rogan saying, you know, this DeSantis makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, it was, as you well know, it was what they call the Reagan Democrats that got him in office.
Got him in. Start with,
They said, you know what, we don't like where we are now. High inflation, high interest rates. Sound familiar?
Yeah.
And they went with Reagan in a huge landslide. But you have to exhibit those qualities. You have to those qualities have to be accompanied if you're gonna win. Because people like free things. They like free stuff and hard work, you know, and those conservative principles for a conservative to win has to get some Democrats
absolutely
over. And it's very difficult for a fellow like Trump
to do that.
To do that.
Yeah. Well, you remember de Tocqueville said, democracy works until the people realize they can vote people in who will give them something. You know,
Tocqueville?
I
thought he was the one who said, hey, man, this is really good weed.
de Tocqueville. Alexis de Tocqueville.
That Toke. Please forgive me. Oh, man. Larry, we got so many subjects here. Let's move on and try to just discuss a little bit in each one of these. Okay. The Inflation Reduction Act passed. Do you get a little offended like I do with this name? You know, it's like, come on, what kind of fool do you think we are calling it the Inflation Reduction Act? That's like, oh yeah, that's like telling your wife that she's gaining a little weight and calling it the marital strife reduction plan. You know,
yeah, right?
You know,
good luck.
That's not. It just doesn't work, right, sir? Tell your girlfriend. Yeah. Yeah, it tells you gain a little weight, you know. No, it's my marital strife reduction plan, you know. But what do you think?
If you don't have policies that work with anti-inflationary moves, it doesn't matter what you call it; it's not going to work.
I don't work,
you know.
And then the CBO come out and said, "Look, it may down the line, but it's going to cause some, some inflation and this." And I have yet to hear, not being an expert on it, but I'm an adherent to the Thomas Sowell School of Economics, basic economics, that how do you pump that kind of money, even over a 10-year period? Because you're talking about how many, 500 billion, 400 billion. Do you know how much it was?
Yeah, half trillion.
Well, that's 40 billion a year that you're going to be pumping in of funny money into the economy.
On top of the money we've already done.
Yeah, exactly right. And you're going to be printing money like crazy if we continue to finance the war in the Ukraine, which has no end in sight until Putin's had enough and threatens to push the button. Then they'll go to the table. But then how many lives lost on that? But anyway, it's here. There is some good stuff in there. But again, it's all the other stuff in there, and you balance it. Yeah. Good for America or bad for America when you look at the full package. And I just find it very difficult to see something that spends this type of money on top of the first COVID relief package, a couple of trillion, a couple of trillion infrastructure bill, and then another $500 billion. We're disincentivizing people to look for solutions, for real solutions. Is what's just
happening.
Throw money at it.
Yeah. And the other thing that comes to mind is whenever you hear waffling of any kind, I look for syrup.
Yeah.
And we're seeing a lot of syrup being poured on waffles right now. I'm tired
of what do you get with that?
Yeah.
You eat too much of that, you get diabetes. What's the first word in diabetes?
Yeah, die.
Yeah.
I love the idea of when Americans get together and really want to solve a problem, you know what? They solve it quickly. And they solve it together. And right now, we don't have people together to be able to do that. We can't have a Biden in there, and I don't think we can have a Trump in there and solve the problems.
No, you need
to have somebody else.
I'm right now, unless something changes, I'm just totally in DeSantis' corner. I just think he's a very special man. He's got a great backstory. He's done a great job in Florida. He's tough, but he's tough when he has to be, tender when he should be. He can fight bare knuckle, but he doesn't go over the line like you've talked about, Larry. He has a sense of I don't need to go there.
Yeah,
because if I go there, it's going to backfire on me. He has that sensibility that a lot of these politicians know.
Yep. You know what people have from him is a sense of confidence.
Yeah,
and you have to have that. I'll tell you, folks. In case you don't know, when Alan Autry ran for his second term as mayor, he didn't raise one dime because he knew that the people either had confidence in him or did not, and he overwhelmingly got reelected. But, that's exactly what I'm talking about, Alan, is the person who runs has to have the confidence of the people. And we've had the Trump deal, and I think Trump was good for America, during that period of time. But I think now we're back. Let's get someone that everybody could agree to work with. That's a big
feel
part
that they can work with.
They can work with them.
And don't the two parties
don't get everything you want either.
And when are both parties going to put their foot down on their fanatical, crazy fringes.
The fringes are crazy, absolutely crazy.
And it's going to have to be the party itself.
Right.
The family has
Right.
to tell the crazy uncle, you can't come to the reunion anymore because you're drunk and you're acting a fool and you're affecting our kids.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you sober up, you can come back. And you know, on the left, they got to tell these wokeaholics on the left, stop pushing this gender neutral stuff, this critical race theory, trying to get rid of the mother and father. Quit demonizing anybody on the right, and the people on the right, you got to start saying, you know, these folks that are wacko out there that see every conspiracy around every corner. You know, these organizations, you got to say, listen, cool it, change your tone, or we're going to do what Buckley did to the Klan, man. You know, you're not welcome here.
Yeah.
In this conservative movement.
Yeah.
That's what he basically said to the Klan, the racists down in, you know, all around the country. You don't want to say just in the South. And I'm just waiting for that, because it's not going to be something said from the opposing party. You're not going to embarrass the other party enough or say the right word or get the right scandal that's going to
work that
that's
way.
going to discipline. It's going to be the party itself discipline.
Yep.
And that's going to mean common sense Democrats coming up, common sense Republicans coming up, meeting, as you said, in the middle with their principles intact.
It's going to be Republicrats or Demopublicans or something. I don't know.
Well, I think you can keep your identity. You don't have to change because the core principles should be the same.
Yep.
Who's against a fair shake for everybody, you know, regardless of their socioeconomic status?
Wouldn't it be nice
whether
if,
you're white, black, Hispanic? Who's against public safety in their neighborhoods? Who wants lawlessness? No, the farthest left, maybe there's some wackos out there, and on the right, wackos out there. Well, get rid of them.
Wouldn't it be nice if we had someone who came up with a list of common points of view for Americans that they could agree on, and start talking about how do we implement these in a fashion that is fair for everyone? And then, you know, you work on little bits on sides of things. But what do we have in common? Because families have certain things in common. They have common history. They have common language. They have common foods that they like. The common thing is what keeps you together. And so,
well, don't we have that in the Bill of Rights?
You know, yeah, but you got to believe in it. You know?
Well, you know, it's like I heard Scalia on YouTube there. He's obviously passed on several years ago. But he said those Bill of Rights, unless they're implemented in society, unless we live them out, they're just words on parchment paper.
Yeah, exactly.
And it really hit me. You know, you're absolutely right.
You know, one of the things that I've talked about a lot is the flag salute. I don't just rote out, you know, by rote memory, say the flag salute. I try to say it with, you know, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. When I'm standing next to someone, I want them to hear not just you know, I pledge allegiance to the flag. I want them to know I mean it. You know, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the Republic. You know, and so start internalizing those values that are common in the Pledge of Allegiance. You know, start making it worth something.
Absolutely. I think that's the culture war that they're talking about.
Right.
That's the so-called civil war.
Yeah.
That's going on.
We are
now.
in a civil war.
Because literally you're having an ideology that's teaching a hatred.
Yes.
Not questioning. It's good. Question America.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's Socratic.
Challenge us to be better.
That Socratic thing of looking at history, examining it closely.
Yep.
Absolutely owning up when you failed.
Yep.
In that Constitution of treating people equally.
Yep.
When you've meddled in the affairs of foreign countries, when you have sanctioned the assassination of foreign leaders, which the United States has had, own up to that. We're not perfect.
Yep.
But you have to, those Bill of Rights and that Constitution is the most powerful
man-made document.
map for, if you value freedom and liberty, to allow individuals with individual rights to have a chance to better themselves. Because the American dream should be the world's dream. You say, well, I can't speak for the world. Well, what? Part of the world says, keep me enslaved because I like it.
Yeah.
Don't let me think for myself because I really like that. Don't let me, what are you saying? Give me a place in Europe or Africa or whatever, and show me these people that said, I really enjoy it when people take away my rights.
Yep. If America
come on.
is so bad, why are so many people still trying to get here?
Oh, my goodness. It's a question that the woke left cannot answer.
They cannot answer.
And yet they are committed. They are well-funded. They're in places that would shock you. And embedded in our education system, the politics, entertainment, the military, for goodness sake. And it is not a ideology of let's improve on what we have,
right.
The freedoms. It's a burn it down.
Let's change it
and
out.
Start it all over again with group identities, no individual rights. And that's been tried all over the world for centuries, and it's never worked. It's always ended up in really a disastrous situation. So it's, well, listen, how about, how much time we got here? Oh, gosh, we got a little bit of time. I want to shift gears over here. Have you heard about these Minnesota teachers union that said if you're going to fire somebody, you got to start with white people, white teachers?
I've not run into that yet.
You have not?
No.
Oh, the people of Minnesota are hopping mad. Yeah. The teachers union there are protesting. They want better conditions and what have you. I'm sure there's a lot of issues involved there. But the union leadership came out and said, if you're going to fire any teachers, you got to start with the white people. Get rid of all the white teachers first.
Wow.
And the people of Minnesota, majority, don't like that. But folks in Minnesota, it kind of started with Jesse Ventura. He's a good wrestler, but something went sideways there.
And you voted for him.
In Minnesota, something started going. And you got Gretchen Whitmer there, bless her heart. I mean, she's in Michigan. Well, hey, Michigan, I don't know what's in the water there in the lakes. What is going on there that you would have a union leadership feel that they could just utter those words with no consequences?
Well, anything goes now in the woke left. So you can say anything.
In terms of anti-white.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's completely contrary to everything that Americans believe in. And that is equality of opportunity, and looking for every person being able to become the best version of themselves. It just doesn't make any sense.
Why isn't that called out, though, for what it is? Yeah. That is full-fledged.
That should be a litmus test.
Unequivocal, unambiguous
hatred.
No
racist.
way. Exactly. Racism.
Yep.
There's no other way to spin that.
You couldn't say that about another race.
You could not say that about any other race.
No. We should start firing so-and-so first.
Yeah. And when you make a statement like that, it's like, well, it was taken out of context. No, you're just saying you hire and fire based on race. Something this country, in its history that's shameful, that fought to get rid of forever.
Yep.
Are we a melting pot anymore?
Oh, boy. I still think we are. I think we are because I see it in my grandkids and the friends that they have at school. Okay, I've got a grandchild that's in 2nd grade, one that's in 4th grade, another one that's in 8th grade, and another one that's in 9th grade. Their friends are a melting pot of America. And it's absolutely, I'm telling you, Alan, they have no concept of race in a lot of ways. They don't. They see a friend or they see someone who doesn't like them.
Then they go off to college.
Yeah, then they get
that's what I mean. Then they go and they
teach them while they're young.
Well, they come back from college, a lot of them, and it's like, who are you?
Look at all the things we've done wrong in America.
You think what?
Yeah.
Where did you learn that? So many families are facing that. They send their kids off these so-called great colleges, especially the Ivy League, and they come back these programmed, racist, just weird human beings.
It's poison Ivy League.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, the melting pot, you kind of drill down into that. And, it was throughout our history, it turns into old term. And I know what it was supposed to represent. Most of us older folks do. That, nation of immigrants.
Out of many, you become one.
You become a pluribus unum, right? You put it in a pot. If you actually use the visual of the pot, you put all of these different traditions and values and stuff in the pot, and then they mix together. And the theory is you're going to have something that tastes good, in this melting pot when it comes out, because you're going to value freedom, liberty, equal opportunities, and that sort of thing. Great flavors. And the trick is, you have to say, okay, in that melting pot, it doesn't mean you do away with your traditions of your particular race or ethnicity.
No.
You know, so you have that preserved in the melting. What melts in there are all of those common values from those different cultures.
Exactly.
You know, the respect, integrity, hard work, and
the importance of faith.
Right. Coming together, that's what comes together, melts as one, and binds you together.
Yep.
Because I've always said the celebration, you hear it all the time, and I know what's meant by it when I say it. We got to celebrate our diversity. And I get in trouble sometimes. I go, why? And they go, look at me, go, well, you should celebrate diversity. Don't you care? But I said, I've been blessed to work, viscerally in cotton fields with black people, Hispanic people, Asians. My life experience, God has given me a chance to experience. Well, how can you not celebrate diversity? I said, well, my experience was the celebration was not really in all the differences we had. It was the things we had in common.
Mm-hmm.
It was that black family with that little black boy out in the middle of the cotton field. We loved to have clod fights. We loved to hide little piles of cotton, for our moms, and they'd come and they'd say, oh, Verna, I found the cotton pile here. Did you? Oh, I did too. And we'd be over there and we'd be just smiling. We had that in common. We wanted to make our mothers happy.
Yep.
It wasn't, excuse me, my goodness. Sorry to do that to you folks. But the celebration to me is the commonalities within that diversity.
Mm-hmm.
You have the traditions. Yes. I love the mariachi man, La Bamba. The Asian music, the beautiful Asian art.
Yes.
The Japanese art, I forget what it's called.
Origami.
But is that what it is, where they take all these elements?
Origami and you form it into different.
Yes. Yeah. It's beautiful. And you can go on and on about those things, and those are traditions. But I don't, and those can be celebrated, I guess, but the true celebration that really means something is what we have in common.
That all of those can come together.
Yes.
Yes, and you can enjoy them.
You can enjoy them. You can relate. You can converse.
Yep.
How's your kid doing in school? Well, not too good. What struggles in math? Well, my kid is too. I got this good tutor over there, and you start going back, I never knew your kid struggled.
Sure.
And those are just the commonalities that, anyway, I just, I think this whole thing, and that's why I just detest this woke left ideology. Not the people on the left. I love them. You heard me right. I love them. God mandates that I love them, meaning I am never going to see them as less than human beings, as many people that are politically poisoned do. You have people out there, honest to goodness, that would just celebrate if Donald Trump was dead, or if Hillary Clinton was dead. There would be no compassion, because they don't see them as human beings
at all.
Really.
It's too bad.
Or they forfeited their right to be treated as a human being because of their political beliefs.
Yep.
I don't subscribe to that. I pray for the woke left, that they find peace in their heart, the willingness to take the hate out of their heart.
Mm-hmm.
Same people on the right that just hate. So it's I think the sooner we get rid of this onslaught, that's why I'm so adamantly against critical race theory being taught. So stamp it out, get rid of it. That's the stuff you want to see destroyed. That's the poison you want to flush down the toilet, not the person. We hope the person realizes, like George Wallace. George Wallace, in his last years, totally repented of his racism. He said, I feel bad. I was so wrong. I was wrong. He had a chance. He changed. People say, oh, you mentioned George Wallace. I'm a fan of George Wallace. He was a racist most of his life. But the George Wallace had admitted that shows what can happen if you take that out of your heart. And God, he took a bullet to his spine to do it. He had to be in a wheelchair when God spoke to his heart and says, and he spent, I think the last 5-6 years of his life, Larry, speaking out convincingly against racism. And that can happen both on the right and the left. But we just got to pray for folks too. Never forget, right?
Absolutely. I love what happens when people of diverse backgrounds come together and are able to talk, to eat together. And, there's something really good that happens when you eat together. I wish more folks could have meals together, could talk about.
As long as they have okra, fried okra on the side, I'm there.
Keep the okra away from me.
Do you like it that much?
Oh, man.
Do you really like it?
Not at all.
Oh, you don't like it at all?
No.
Have you tried it?
One time.
See, one time I did too. Larry, I know it looks bad on there, but go to your point. Man. You start talking food, I can tangent with the best of them. I could go off subject in a heartbeat.
I can't get by without tacos and without Asian food and,
breakfast tacos. If Guillermo was here, he would make you eat a breakfast taco. He took that breakfast taco thing from Jill Biden. He just ran with that, man.
That one was a good one that lasted a long time.
It had a good shelf life up there. Expiration dates, I don't think it's even on that comment yet. But, okay, we just got a couple of minutes left. Too late to get into the TJ Cox thing here locally, the congressman that just got arrested by FBI. And I really wanted to talk about the Bullard cell phone thing. But goodness gracious, we got a minute 12, can't do it. It's a local high school here they've banned cell phones because of an incident that happened. I think it's a great idea. So you're going to see an experiment on a pretty big school, right?
Yeah.
Here it was
So they go in a bag that the phones stay in, and they get them back at the end of the day, I have a lot to say about that, so I better not get started.
No, hey, we'll do that. Hey, we'll talk about it next Wednesday or before even. Maybe you can come in on Friday. I don't know what your schedule is.
They've got a couple of weeks before they implement it, so so we got some time.
Yeah, it's a very, very interesting.
I might surprise people where I am on that.
No, hey, it's I'm looking forward to it because it's something I never thought would even be contemplated.
Yeah.
Here, especially in California.
We got enough rules. Let's enforce the ones we've got. We'll talk more.
All right. Larry Powell, thank you for being with us, brother. Appreciate you so much. Appreciate you folks. Thanks for putting up with me for an hour. I missed you so much. I wish I could talk more about the movie that I just with Sylvester Stallone, but I'm on a non-disclosure agreement. But I'll slip some things in there tomorrow on how the experience went. God bless you. God bless America. Remember, just do your best. Let God do the rest. And we'll see you tomorrow on Thursday. Bye-bye now.
Who cares about the clouds if we're together?